Hey y'all, how y'all doing? Thoughts of a rambling mind. Recently T.I. did an interview where he was discussing his daughter and their family tradition and the way that he deals with her virginity. So I'd like to preface this video by saying I don't have a right to give a view on T.I. and his daughter and the way that he decides to raise her. It's not my right. I don't know them, and even if I did, she's not my daughter. I don't have a right to make this video, but I'm going to make it anyway because this is the new world we're in and everybody has an opinion on something. I believe that my opinion is very valid because I recently watched the interview on Hot 97 in which Rosenberg, who is a visitor to our culture, was speaking about the way that he feels that our culture, the direction our culture should go in. And I don't think that his views were correct, nor, just like I don't have a right to have a view on T.I.'s family, I don't think he has a right to have a view. Well, he can have his view, but I don't think he has a right to have a sway on our culture and the direction that it goes into. So, that being said, T.I. recently did an interview stating that he, every year on his daughter's birthday, goes to the doctor, or the day after her birthday, goes to the doctor with his daughter, gets consent from her with the doctor in order to see her medical records, in order to test her hymen. For those that don't know what a hymen is, it's a little flap of skin inside the vagina that usually can tell whether or not she's been penetrated, if she's had vaginal intercourse. There are other ways for this hymen to break: activity, athletic activity, riding horses. Many things can break this hymen. It's not just sex, but he's confident that she doesn't do any of the activities that would cause this hymen to break, so therefore it would be a good way for him to judge whether or not she has sex or not. In watching the interview with Rosenberg made a comment which, in the current state of the world that we're in, is a very valid comment. And the comment is that it's not a progressive way of thinking. It's a really old-fashioned, barbaric, and heavily masculine-dominated way of thinking in which it suppresses the sexual freedom of young women. Right? And I believe that that's a very valid point if morality had nothing to do with these decisions. You see, the thought that women and men are equal on all planes and all aspects, I believe is a falsehood. I believe that women are strong in certain categories and weak in others. And I believe men are strong in certain categories and weak in others. That being said, when it comes to virginity, I don't believe that virginity in males and virginity in females are the same. He was opposed to the fact that T.I. put so much emphasis on his daughter's virginity and not on his son's. And I think that they're very different topics. I believe that the fact that T.I. is making a decision, a conscious effort, in order to preserve his daughter's virginity up until a point where she's old enough and wise enough and has learned enough in life to make the decision to have sex is a very responsible decision. I also believe that the world has come to a place where we don't value the merits of sex. We don't look at sex for the life-changing event that it is, right? For a woman and a man, their lives can change drastically and permanently due to one act of intercourse. Meaning that a woman or a man can create life through sex. That is the purpose of sex, to create life, to procreate. So, that being said, a man can create life and a woman create life. And you might say, well, if a man can create life as well, why not put as much emphasis on the man? Well, the reason is because the woman is who has to carry the child. The woman who will ultimately be obligated to raise the child and mind the child. So that being said, there's a greater responsibility on the woman when it comes to the act of sex. and procreation. That being said, it is imperative for parents to teach their children, teach their daughters especially, the risks, the pitfalls, the game, the objective of men, and all of the other possible occurrences that come with the act of having sex. See, originally sex was meant for after marriage. And because of the way that our world has progressed, that has now been thrown out of the window. And with throwing that out of the window, a Pandora's box is open and allowed for other negative possibilities to be available into the lives of our daughters. Now, Rosenberg also asks, why not instill it into his son, therefore to protect the daughters of others? It's not a father's job to protect the daughters of other men. It's a father's job to protect his daughter. The son does not have to deal with the same consequences that a daughter does from having sex. Nor does a son have to deal with the stigma of choosing the wrong sexual partner over and over and over again. You see, when a son chooses the wrong sexual partner and then has to move on to another sexual partner, there is no negative connotation or negative name that can be associated with that bad decision. When a woman or a young lady chooses her first sexual partner, she usually chooses it because it's the person that she ideally would like to be with for the rest of her life. Now, when it turns out that that person is not the right person, which it never could be the right person when you choose this person at too young of an age, then she will have to make the decision to move on to a second partner. And then if that doesn't work out, a third, and so on. So, suffice it to say, we cannot let society change our culture if we want to protect our children. I'm all for women being able to choose and be as sexually free and sexually liberated as men. I believe sexual equality is a real thing. I believe that a woman should feel as equal sexually as a man should, equally free. But I believe that that freedom belongs to a woman, not to a little girl, not to a young adult, not to an adolescent. I believe sexual freedom in females is something that women choose. So, for T.I. to make the decision to preserve or to try his best to preserve that virginity until she's reached full adulthood, and full adulthood is not 18 as they tried to suggest on Hot 97. Full adulthood is when the mind's maturity has reached such that they can make the best decisions for their lives. And there's no age number for that. That goes from person to person, but it's definitely not 18 for anyone. You see, 18 is only the first legal step of adulthood. 21 is another step of adulthood. 25 is yet another. So you see, if we use legal terminology to determine whether or not we are an adults, there is no definitive answer under the law. Gray areas. I believe the only tweak T.I. could make to his stance is that instead of just checking and making her feel like she's in an inquisition over her vagina, I believe it would be slightly better if he decided to reward her virginity every year on her birthday. Go get it checked. If she's still a virgin, she gets some sort of reward. That's my view.